Hello and welcome to a Powerline Systems tutorial video which will attempt to illustrate the concepts involved in merging projects together in PLS-CADD. This is a companion video for the recently released technical note on the same topic. And really the aim of this video is to try and walk through the technical note in a little bit more detail and try and talk you through some of the steps that you need to take. Because let's be honest, sometimes it's a lot easier to see how certain commands are applied than reading it from a dry document. In order to get the back files that you'll need to practice this method, you will have to download a copy of the technical note as a PDF file and save it on your computer. This will then allow you to have access to the embedded back files for you to work with and practice. File management is always important when working within PLS-CADD projects. And here we're actually going to be working with 8 separate projects as we work through these examples. To try and keep things clear and organized, I've decided to work on the root directory of my C drive in a folder that I created and called Merge Projects. Inside this, there's individual folders for each of the example projects, example 1A through 2B. Then inside these folders, I further created a subdirectory for each line, segment, or mini project. And then after that, I was able to restore or unpack the back files into the respective folders in order to keep things well organized. Before we start working on the examples, I just want to touch on a couple of important terms. Firstly, we have the DON or DON file. Each PLS-CADD project has an associated DON file. They're automatically generated by PLS-CADD, and really they basically store the information regarding structure locations, structure types and materials, as well as information about the sections and the cable installation conditions. The second concept is the line model or line element. This is a collection of structures and sections that are laid over the alignment network. You can have multiple line models saved within a single DON file. When we talk about merging projects together, we will initially merge the DON files together into one project, and then we will merge the separate line models together to make sure that we have a single line model in our project. This tech note covers 4 separate examples. The first 2 deal with merging of projects that share the same root alignment, and the second 2 examples cover the merging of projects that are on separate alignments. In this video, we're only going to be covering example 1B extensively, and we're going to touch briefly on example 2A. This example has 2 segments of the line modeled, with both of them being on the identical root alignment. Segment 1 shown as a solid red line. However, there is a gap in the model. To close this gap, another model was made called segment 2, which is shown as the green dashed line. The arrows on the segment indicate that segment 2 has been modeled in the wrong direction. And so for us to combine these 2 models, we're going to have to understand how to reverse an alignment. We also need to look at the 2 shared structures. These structures will be used to tie the separate line models together during the merge process. Right, let's open up our project. I'm going to do this by double-clicking on the example 1B segment 1 XYZ file in my working directory. Once it opens up, you will very clearly see the gap in the middle of the profile. Now, the best way to merge a section of line into the middle of a project like this will be to first split this initial project or XYZ project into 2 separate line models. That makes it a lot easier to manipulate later. To do this, we would go to the Lines, Edit, Dialog menu, and you'll see that by default, we only have a single line model available in this project. Make sure it's highlighted, and if we click on the Copy button, you'll see that we've now created a duplicate line model. I would suggest that for us to keep track of the projects, it's probably best to rename these different line models so that we know which one we're working on. To do that, you'd highlight or select one of the line models and click on the Info button. This will take you to the Line Display Options dialog box. And here you can rename the lines. I'm going to call these lines line segment 1A and segment 1B. After renaming them, while you've got segment 1A active, I'd suggest just hiding the segment 1B And then if you go back to the model space, you can go and actually delete structures number 13 through 18 from segment 1A. We can repeat this process for segment 1B, but this time delete structures 1 through 12. And this will leave us with two separate line models, with each one containing a portion of the profile as we would want. Let's save this model, as we now need to move across to segment 2 and start preparing it for merging. Before we open segment 2, just pay attention to our profile view here. You'll notice that first we cross a road and then we go over a small hill. Okay, let's open project 2. Again, I prefer to do this by double-clicking on the XYZ project, but this is not the only way to do this. Once the project opens up, you should immediately notice the difference from segment 1. Here, we first pass over the hill, and then we cross the road. So, to make sure that our project is going to merge into the original project successfully, we need to make sure that our alignment runs in the same direction. And we're going to have to reverse this alignment to match that of segment 1. To reverse the alignment, it's quite straightforward. We go to the terrain menu, alignment, and select reverse alignment. As easy as that. Let's save this model and we can open up our revised segment 1 project again. We are now able to start the merge process to merge the two projects together. And we do that by selecting Lines, Load DON File or Merge Projects command. You will get a big warning that pops up initially, and this really just describes what the command is about to do. Make sure you understand it, have a read through it, and then click the OK button. We're then prompted to select the DON file that we wish to merge into our active project. So let's navigate in our working directory to find example 1b segment2.don. We then have a series of options to control how we import different parts of the project. Okay, and the first option is very important, and this talks about whether or not our structures and wires in the two different projects share the same alignment as the current project. And in our case, they do. So we were going to click yes. What this means is that no survey points or PIs will be imported into the model as they are already existing in the first model. The lines or the examples for example 2A and B, in that case we've got separate alignments, and there we will have to click on the no button so that we are in fact going to be merging in the survey data and the alignment data. I will briefly show that at the end of this video just to highlight the difference in the two behaviors you see here. The next option is to merge any annotations into the project, any project notes, and any files that are saved in the reference manager. At this point, you'll see that the line profile now shows that segment 2 has been brought in, and that means that the DON merge has been successful, and we actually have a separate line model being brought in for segment 2. If you go back or navigate back to Lines Edit, you can see that we now have 3 line models in our project. Segment 1A and B that we had played with previously, and we've now brought segment 2 in as a separate line model. You'll also notice now for the first time that we have a station overlap between the two models, specifically between segment 1A and segment 2. If we activate segment 2, we can delete those unnecessary or duplicate structures number 1 and 2. The last challenge we have to overcome before merging the line models together is to address the shared structures. We now have a duplicate structure at the points where the lines will be joined together. These structures actually exist in 2 of the line models each. But in our final combined model, we only want a single structure at each of these locations. If we do nothing as the model stands now and try and merge the lines, one of those co-located structures will be deleted by PLS-CADD. However, as the structure is deleted, the sections or wires attached to it will also be deleted, as it is a dead-end structure. To try and overcome this, we simply need to ensure that the structures are not co-located. So PLS-CADD will then not be able to delete them. We can then later resolve the stringing issues and manually delete the duplicate structures ourselves. Let's do this by shifting structure number 1 and structure number 5 on segment 2, just by a couple of meters, ever so slightly off of their current position. We're finally ready to merge the line models together. I like to ensure that I work sequentially along the alignment, although this is not necessary. But I will select segment 1A as active and hide the other models. Now let's select the lines merge command, and in the merge dialog box that opens up, you will see a list of all of the line models in the project. The active line will be indicated by an asterisk on the extreme left of the title. Let's select line segment 2 and click OK, and these models will be merged together. And let's repeat that process for segment 1B as well. At this point we have only one line model and we're almost there. We just need to tidy up and address the stringing issues and the duplicate structures. The best way to do this is to be in the 3D view. Go to structure number 12 or 13 and you will see the duplicated structures that we shifted off of the original alignment positions. We need to now move the wires to the correct structures so that we end up with a single structure that has no wires on it, which can then be deleted without losing any conductor sections. The best way to move the wires is to use the Section Swap Attachments tool. This is a great feature, and just as a word of warning, it works as a drag and drop action. So let's click on set 15 on structure number 13, and let's drag those wires across to set 15 on structure 12. And repeat the same process for the shield wire in set 11. After all the wires have been moved across and both of the duplicate structures are clear of wires, we can delete them from the model. And there we have it. We have successfully merged the two line segments together. I just want to circle back briefly to talk about the scenario where we have two projects that are on separate alignments that we would like to merge together. And I'll use example 2A from the tech note to illustrate this. In this case, the two line segments touch each other or are joined together, but they are each one on their own separate alignment. You can see this clearly if you open up any of the XYZ projects and have a look at it. Let us start off by opening example 2A segment 1. Have a brief look at the profile and the plan views. To merge in a second project or second segment, let's select Lines, Load, DON File or Merge Projects as we did before. We again can click OK on this warning and navigate and find the DON file that we wish to merge into our active project. In the subsequent dialog that opens, we now need to select No. Previously we selected Yes. This time we select No because the structures and wires on segment 2 do not share an alignment with our active project. As we click No, the first thing that's going to happen is that PLS-CADD will attempt to merge the PIs from the second project into the current project. And we have a clash or an issue where the very first PI in segment 2 is already present in the segment 1 model. So we get a warning that that PI cannot be added and the PI add command is cancelled. After the PIs have been added, the next thing to do is to merge in the XYZ data or the survey data from our existing model. Let's click Yes. At this point we can apply any point filters if we wish to limit which points or how many points are brought into our model. And we can also choose to reproject the project if there's a different coordinate system existing in these two different models. We'll then be asked if we want to bring in any spotting constraints. And we have the rest of the attributes we saw in the previous example. Annotations, project notes, and any files we find in the project reference manager. You will note that at this point the two DON files are merged and we are left with two line models in our project. And we've seen the steps already to merge these two projects together, paying attention to that shared structure. If you'd like more information about our software, please see our website at www.powerlinesystems.com or contact us at info@powerlinesystems.com. To receive a quote for purchase or renewal of your license, please contact sales@powerlinesystems.com. And for any technical inquiries, please contact support@powerlinesystems.com. Thank you for watching and for your interest in our software, the industry standard in overhead line design.